Hey everybody, it's me, Sven Sharpen here, bringing you day 54 of Let's Talk About Autism. Before we get started, hit the like and subscribe button down below. It'll help me out a lot. On this rainy, somber Memorial Day, take a moment of silence, hopefully, for our fallen heroes that gave their lives for this great nation that I call home. I'm just gonna go do that real quick. Alright. Not sure how well I did, but I tried. But you can hear the saw in the background, excuse that. That's not my fault. But yeah, I'm making this special video to honor those who gave their lives for this nation, and I'm going to tell you that plenty of them, including my ancestors, may have been on the spectrum. And the reason they were able to give their lives for this nation in the first place was because there was no system that could prevent them from doing so. And it's an honorable thing to do. So, and I think I'm very grateful they did. All of them, not just the ones that may have been on the spectrum, obviously. I have ancestors that fought in these wars for our freedom. My grandfather, for example, has his grandfather's World War I uniform, and that's very respectable, and he still has it today, and I've seen it. Yeah, but we look at this country today, and especially what's happening to autistic kids these days, and adults alike, but mainly children, and that's not what my ancestors fought for. That's not what the 1 million people who gave their lives for our freedom fought for. They didn't fight for that. They never fought for all the woke stuff that goes on today. None of them fought for that. Some of them, both the veterans who fought World War II, are still alive today, and they're devastated at what happened to our country in these last 80 years. And especially for our generation, they gave their lives so that we could have freedom. And yet, they've taken that away, especially from autistics. We haven't even really had freedom before. We autistics haven't had that. I mean, if you're not diagnosed, you have. So, in a way, but if you're diagnosed with autism, I talked about this yesterday. If you're diagnosed with autism at a young age, there is no freedom. There is no ability to live in the country that your ancestors and the 1 million people that gave their lives, they didn't fight, they fought for you. And yet the systems in place that have developed since those people gave their lives for our freedom won't let you have it. And it's heartbreaking. The people that fought for our freedom, and the fact that it's all been taken in a lot of ways. Like, as a young Gen Zer, I never got to experience the world of the 80s and 90s, and certainly not the 50s. We never got to experience the America that our fallen heroes fought for. We haven't had that. And even in my own lifetime, the changes are so noticeably, degrading. I mean, even just 15 years ago, things weren't all that bad. I mean, they were heading in the direction that we're at today, but kids weren't being transitioned. Kids weren't being abused in the schools. I mean, they were, but not to the degree they are today. But I'm going to follow the legacy of our fallen heroes by continuing to fight for the legacy and the freedom that they fought for. I'm going to fight for that today. Maybe not in the military, but in a different way, which is what I've been doing these past several months since the beginning of the year. And I will fight for 7 million Americans and millions more around the world to have the freedom that our fallen heroes fought for. And that's definitely something that they could be if would, looking down at me, be proud of me for, is following the legacy of our American heroes to fight for what they fought for against an institution that doesn't believe in that. And that's why I make these videos, is to sort of follow that legacy and to bring forth the America that we deserve to live in. Not just autistics, but the young generation as a whole and those that will come after us. We deserve to have the America that our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents and even great-great-grandparents got to grow up and live in. We deserve to have that America. We deserve to have an America where we vote for presidents or policies as opposed to parties. We need an America where you don't have to worry about being hit by a school teacher as a child. We deserve the America where we can go to school and actually learn real things, our history, things like mathematics, literacy, science, and innovation. That's the biggest thing. We autistics, especially, have done some amazing things throughout history. I mean, a person with profound autism probably isn't going to do that, but a person like me, and there's people historically that did great things that today are thought to be autistic, and there's strong evidence that suggests such. And some of these accomplishments are world-changing things. And yet, if an autistic person did that today, even as a teenager, something that grown adults don't know how to do, their achievement would be completely discarded. It would be forgotten. It would be ignored. Even if it was something great. So even if today, if an autistic person invented quantum computing, the cure for cancer, or even, Elon Musk wanting to put somebody on Mars, his achievements, that achievement would be completely ignored because of the culture's hatred and just overall attitude towards folks like us. They just assume that we can't do anything for ourselves, let alone everyone else. And that's not what we fought for. That's not what 1 million Americans fought for and died for. We fought for a country that is a beacon of freedom, a beacon of light and hope, and a place where we can accept ourselves as American. And that should include autistics. That should include anyone who respects the stars and stripes, anyone who loves being free, those who love living in America and are proud to be Americans. And this isn't that different from what happened with slavery. Because back then, the question was asked, how is it that America can be this beacon of freedom while enslaving 4 million people? And the answer is, it couldn't. And so slavery had to end. And none other than Abraham Lincoln got it done. And there's strong evidence to suggest he was on the spectrum. And I have a ton of respect for him. I mean, whether he is or not, he's one of the greatest presidents in our history. And he deserves to be honored. Not to mention the 700,000 men that died getting rid of slavery, that fought for getting rid of slavery. That's most of the fallen war heroes. And I bet you some of them were on the spectrum. But there was no diagnosis. There was no big pharma at the time. So they were allowed to live the lives that the rest of the Americans got to live. And then eventually the black population was freed. Woohoo. And, I mean, there's still problems, but, it's not like they're in slavery. But autistics, we're kind of in a similar situation. We're not necessarily considered property or anything, but we're still treated horribly by a system that doesn't think we can live independently, that we can live freely. And America is supposed to be a beacon of light and hope and freedom and faith and friendship. And autistics have had that taken away. All of it. We don't have that freedom. We don't have the country that our ancestors, that the million people that fought and gave their lives fought for. Autistics don't have that, and neither does the young generation. So I'm here to ensure that autistics get to live in the America. I mean, it's just not only Gen Zers. I mean, we got tons of voices for that. Autism doesn't have that. And that's why I make these videos, is so that we can finally, for the first time in decades, have the America that we can freely express our creativity, our brilliance, our artistic abilities, and of course, our innovation. America was built on all of that. And I think we have to preserve it the best we can. John Kennedy famously said at one point, I can't remember when, but I mean, obviously I wasn't around back then, but I can't remember like what time it was, what year it was, but he did famously say at one point that freedom is no more than a generation away from being destroyed. And he's right. And in one generation, it's all gone to crap. Like, the values of whoever's running the country today just are not the values that America should have. I mean, yeah, we've got President Trump back in the White House, which I'm grateful for. But we need something more. There's only so much that Donald Trump can do to turn this around. It's going to be up to us, average Americans, who respect those who fought for us and died for us, and follow their footsteps, their legacy, to keep fighting for it and to preserve this freedom. And we must always continue to do so, because it's always under threat of destruction. Many times in history has it been, and it still is today, and this is arguably the biggest one of them all. A global cultural conflict between common sense and insanity that autistics have been caught up in the middle of, that we should never have been in the first place. And like, even my own community at this point has become something that I don't even want anything to do with. This whole odd gender, you're more likely to be non-binary. Nobody fought for that. That's insane. That is straight out of hell. And the fact that we're the main target, and that they see us as a vulnerable group that they can just go in and change the identity of in a matter of a couple of sentences. No. We deserve the right to choose what we want to do and who we want to be. I mean, telling someone the only way for them to be happy is to go down a certain path, that's not self-determination. That's not freedom of choice. That's socialism. That's totalitarian. You don't ever tell a child or a teenager that's struggling with friendship and happiness, and you don't ever promise them that stuff with a string attached that says, oh, you actually have to do this thing that'll irreversibly destroy your body, not to mention all the other stuff that happens. So, I mean, this is long, but it's a somber video that I just wanted to get out. And, just remember that there's 1 million Americans that died for you, not to mention Lord Jesus Christ himself well before that paid the price for our sin. So we gotta follow that legacy. We gotta honor them, and we gotta preserve it the best we can. And some of them may have been in the autism spectrum. In fact, it's probably guaranteed that some of them were. But we're not diagnosed because, well, if they had been, they wouldn't have been allowed to do that. But I'm very grateful they did. Including those who fought, my direct ancestors that fought in both World Wars and Vietnam. So, yeah. I make this video as a somber day. That's what Memorial Day is all about. It's honoring those who fought for our freedom and the fallen heroes that died for us, that died for our country. And that's why we celebrate it. It's not about barbecues. It's not about going to the beach. It's not about going up hiking in the mountains. It's respecting those that died to build this great country and to protect it and defend it and die for it. And that's what Memorial Day is all about. And I'm here to follow that legacy so that 7 million Americans diagnosed with autism, and it might be more, might be less, couldn't tell you, but it's probably 7 to 10 million, can have the America that a million people died for and millions more fought for, and more will still fight for to this day. And I'll be among them. What my ancestors did in the world wars, I'm doing in the culture war. I'm already in. I've been in for months, and I'm not going anywhere. And I'm not going to stop until no child is ever harmed by the education or pharmaceutical system ever again. And so that they can be raised in the America that our parents and grandparents and those before us got to experience. That was day number 54. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you made it this far, I greatly appreciate it. This may have sounded like a rant, but it's not. It's me paying respect to fallen American heroes that fought for our freedom. And that's what Memorial Day is about. And that was day 54. And I'll see you tomorrow for probably a much shorter video on day 55. And again, if you watched this far, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. And, well, goodbye, and I hope you have a really blessed Memorial Day.